Here from Top Tennis Training, and in today's video I'm going to talk to you about the backhand slice. Now many of us struggle with our backhand slice. Those players that perhaps are not confident at hitting the topspin backhand, whether it's a single-hander or a two-hander, they struggle with the low balls to lift it up with topspin, or they struggle when on the run and the ball is a little bit out of their reach. For those shots we need the slice. So let's talk about the slice and exactly how we can make it better. Now the main problems I see players facing when trying to attempt the slice is the ball either goes too floaty and long, so the ball drifts out of the court. It either goes floaty and sits up for the player to hit against. It either goes very short, so you're not getting enough depth on that slice, or obviously it can go in the net when you haven't quite got the right angle on the racket. So in order to fix all these problems, let's have a look at the next 3 points. Point number 1, the path of the racket swing. Now when we take the racket back for the slice, we must ensure that the racket comes high and it comes above our shoulder. We don't want to have a low take back. The reason we don't want that is when the take back is low and we're going straight into contact, because the racket face for a slice has to be open, the ball ends up going up. So you're getting a bounce off the racket that makes the ball come up. So you don't want to come underneath the ball and scoop the ball up. You want to cut through the ball, and to cut through the ball, you need to come from above the ball, go down on the ball, and then actually through the shot this way. So it's the bottom side of the racket that makes contact, that leads the contact to the ball.
Federer likes to cut across the ball when hitting the slice. This allows him to accelerate through contact without adding pace to the ball, as the racket is traveling in a perpendicular direction. It is important to keep the racket face still at contact while cutting across, which gives the ball side spin and makes it bounce to the side, making it even tougher for an opponent to set up for.
It comes from high, above the shoulder, racket going back, going into contact, leading with the bottom side of the racket through contact. Point number 2, racket face at contact. Now if you have a racket face at contact that is too flat, therefore pointing too much string to the ball, when you hit through the shot, the ball's going to go straight and is going to go down into the net. It's not going to create any backspin, it's not going to create any of that slice that you want in order to give control to the ball, and in order to control the bounce, make the bounce low, make the ball skid if you're playing on a fast surface. So the racket face during contact has to be open. It's an open racket face that we can achieve by holding the racket in a chopper grip. It's the same grip you should be using for the smash, for the volley, and also for the serve. It's exactly the same grip we use for the slice, and that ensures a very easy and open racket face. Now what happens with the racket face at contact is, because the bottom side of the racket is leading through the shot, what's going to happen is the strings, when they bite onto the ball, will take effect, making that ball rotate through and forward. And that's the important thing here. The ball is rotating, is flying forward, but it's rotating through and forward. What you don't want to do is make the ball rotate up and forward. And that will happen if, one, the path is coming from too far underneath, or the racket face is too open. And with that open racket face, you will end up not getting as much length, so the ball is going to start dropping a lot shorter. It'll be almost like a drop shot because you've over-sliced the ball. So an over-slice of the ball is happening when the racket face is too open. Therefore, you're slicing on the ball way too much. The ball is rotating, but actually it's not getting enough distance. Now, if you have too much of a flat racket face, you may create distance, but again, you don't have enough slice to make the ball, to slow down that ball in the air and give it that effect off the court. Now, depending on how high or low the ball is, will depend on how much racket face you have to give to the ball, so how open you want that racket face. Now, if the ball is a really low ball, you may not want to start quite as high and chop down on it, because the ball is going to go down into the floor. You're going to have to start a little bit more level with the ball on this occasion because of the height of the ball. The ball is low, so you end up having to lift that ball a little bit, but then the racket face has to be open in order to create that lift. Now, if the ball is higher, you can actually afford to show a bit more racket face.
Enjoy your meal.
Show a bit more racket face because you're going to go down on the ball a lot more, and you can actually create a more of a jab on the shot where you actually end up giving some power, so it's almost like a power slice rather than just a slice. So the higher the ball, the more flat racket face we can show to the ball, and we can actually create more of a jab shot. We can create more power. On the mid height, we have to have a pretty open racket face that goes high to low. So the path is high to low with a nice open racket face going through the shot. And on the low one, we want a slightly more open racket face, and the take back doesn't quite have to start as high, because it'll make you chop down on that ball, and it'll be very difficult for you to lift that ball up. So a good way to think about how to hit that ball is to almost imagine like a U through the shot. So I start high, I make contact on the way down, I go through, and then at the end I can even afford to lift that arm up a little bit. So it's like I'm getting the underneath of that ball, making it slice all the way through. Someone like Federer, for example, sometimes ends up just cutting through and completely down. So it also depends on the kind of shot that you're hitting. The lower the ball, the more you'll cut and actually lift up on the ball. The higher the ball, the more the path will just come down, and it'll be more of a chop, more of a cut in order to bring that ball down. So if I'm bringing the ball down, I'm cutting down on that ball. If I'm making it go through, I'm going more through the shot. And if I'm lifting, I can actually afford to lift the bottom edge up a little bit to give it that backspin while lifting the ball. When I am going through the shot with this like mid-height ball, and I want the ball to go deep, I want it to kind of float deep, and I want it to stay low, I want it to skid through the court. It's a great way to approach, for example. This is the thinking that I'm going to have behind it, is going up, through, and then forward. So let's talk about the third point, and that's the follow through. Point number 3, the follow through. Now some of you may struggle to get the right direction on the ball because your follow through might be the wrong one for the shot. Now what we don't want to do when we're making that follow through after contact, so we've come up, we've gone through contact, what you don't want to do is to let the racket face lead and finish this way, almost like on a one-handed backhand. So the one-handed backhand, that would happen. On a slice, we don't allow that racket face to ever break the line of my wrist, of my hand. So I always keep the hand on the right side of my racket head. So no matter where I finish with my arm, whether it's across and I'm cutting down, like Federer when he squeezes his shoulder blades and goes down with his elbows, by chopping down on that ball and creating extra slice. Or whether I'm going through contact and forward, or I'm even hitting an inside out backhand, so giving that inside out spin. Whatever the slice that you're hitting, you do not want to let this go. The moment you get that flapping motion happening, you will, one, lose control on the direction, but you'll also lose the slice, because you'll end up hitting this way, will end up actually hitting a flat shot from underneath. What you want to do is almost think about hitting with the backhand, the bottom part of the hand, almost this way, where the bottom part of the hand leads through, but it remains there. You don't want the fingers to come out this way. So I'm almost leading with that bottom part of my palm. So it's this, and this. And no matter where that racket finishes, whether it finishes high, whether my arm finishes high, across, through, it's always the same finish. And it's important to actually know what kind of shot you're hitting, because it'll depend on the kind of finish that you'll do. If I'm hitting the inside out slice, it'll be more of a high finish and across. If I'm hitting a through the court ball where I'm approaching, it'll be more from high to through and to more of a linear path. And if I'm hitting more of a jab shot, so this is a shot that gives you a little bit more power. So if I'm coming from above and I'm giving more of a jab, which makes the ball fly off a little bit faster, because I'm giving a little bit more of a flat racket face, I don't end up needing to come through as much. It'll be the power will happen before contact, and I will stop there. This is perhaps a better shot when you're closer into the court. Whereas on the other slices where I'm approaching or I'm doing a
Bạn muốn đi đến bất cứ nơi đâu, có một cuộc sống tự do tự tại, có nguồn tài chính tốt để chăm sóc cho bản thân hay người thân yêu và trải nghiệm nhiều nơi mà bạn muốn đến. Đó là cuộc sống mơ ước, trong đó có mình và các bạn ngoài kia phải.
Whereas on the other slices where I'm approaching or I'm doing a drop shot, I'll actually have to do less power before, but more through the ball. So I'll actually end up going past the ball. So as if I'm thinking about it on a scale of 0 to 10, where 0 is the start of my swing and 10 is the finish of my swing, I want to perhaps do a 3 before contact, so I'm going slow before contact and then a 7 through, whereas on the jab I might do a 9 and a 1, you know, so I'm actually not coming through the ball at all because I'm creating the power before the shot and I'm making that ball come off my strings quicker. So the longer I keep the ball on those strings, the more effect the ball will have, the more effect my strings will have on the ball, because the surface area of my racket bed, so that the strings will carry the ball on for a little bit longer, allowing the ability to spin that ball more. So to create extra spin, I want to go through the shot a lot more. If I'm jabbing and I'm hitting more of a flatter slice, I don't need to hold the ball on the strings for quite as long, and therefore I can afford to accelerate before the shot and stop it at contact a lot more. So if you do play around with those shots, play the jab close to the net where you're accelerating through and stopping, or play that slice that Federer does so well, the one that skids through, the one that you can use as an approach shot, where you actually start quite slow before and then through the court in order to make that ball slice a lot, bounce low, and perhaps skid if you're playing on a fast surface like a grass court. Thank you guys for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please go to our VIP section where you can continue learning about the backhand slice, as well as the backhand and other parts of the game, such as the tactics, the fitness, the forehand, the serve, the volley. We have it all covered in our VIP section. You can check that out in the link under this video. Press the like button on this video, share it with your friends, leave a comment underneath. I'd love to know your thoughts. I'd love to know if it helped you on your slice, if there's perhaps something that you do on your slice that you want help with, and we'll do our best to answer those in our videos. In the meantime, check out that VIP section.